It's 6:34 on this pre-hump day edition of the Real Investment Show. So the election's coming up, and this was saying earlier in the show today, we haven't got a coronavirus relief package kind of really anywhere in the works right now because everybody's getting ready to go out on the campaign trail. And, this is kind of an interesting time because this is where all the politicians are now starting to talk about their plans for the future. What are we going to do? Got this huge pile of mess that we're dealing with at the moment, whether it's the coronavirus, we've got riots, we've got civil unrest, we've got a huge wealth gap. We've got all these problems, right? And so all the politicians are coming out with their ideas about how we're going to fix this. And it's an interesting conversation because all the solutions require more government, more control, more interventions. And look, I certainly understand there's lots of problems, right? Healthcare is a problem. Healthcare costs are a problem. Nobody's arguing that. Student tuition's a problem. Nobody's arguing that either. The wage gap. We've talked about the wealth gap within in the country. It's also the wage gap. It's the wage gap between CEOs and executives and the labor. It's a problem. These are not new problems. But what's interesting is these problems have been exacerbated by the very things that politicians are suggesting that we do more of. And what there isn't, and I think this is the most fascinating thing about this, is there isn't any hint of personal responsibility within these problems. Let me give you some examples. Student tuition. Student tuition's a problem. We got to fix the problem. We got to forgive all these people of their debt because of the problem with student tuition, right? They took out these loans. They went and got a college degree. About half of them dropped out without getting a college degree, but now have the debt. And now they're having trouble, paying off the debt and trying to make ends meet and create a living and those type of things. So we need to pay this off. Well, see, we never talk about the personal responsibility. What about the person that took out the loan, right? Were they being financially responsible? See, we don't talk about the issues of personal financial responsibility within any of these actions. People get in their head over, they take out too big of a mortgage loan, more than they can afford because they want to own a house they really can't afford to keep up with, right? Taxes and maintenance and upkeep and all this breaks them, and they wind up defaulting on their mortgage. We don't talk about the personal responsibility. But instead of acknowledging that there's personal responsibility, that's okay, don't worry about it. We're just going to pass some laws here, and we're going to provide more bailouts, right? We're going to give people more money. There's about 40 years of history now, going back to 1980, that shows these type of spending programs and government interventions simply don't work. And in fact, has made things markedly worse. In 1980, the United States ranked within the top 5 of every country in the world in terms of math, reading, science, etc. Today, we're somewhere in the 20s. And that was since the time that the Department of Education was formed and we moved education to the government level. Healthcare was reasonable. It was a little expensive, no doubt, but it was pretty reasonable. Most people could get insurance through their employer or privately within a fairly reasonable limit. I'm not saying it was great. We had some problems with healthcare. We had tort issues. We had some medical billing issues, things that could be solved pretty easily, right? But for the most part, healthcare was reasonable, and everybody had access to healthcare in terms of if you get sick, and this is one thing people still forget, is that yes, even if you're uninsured and you get sick, you go to the emergency room, you will be taken care of. But in 2009, we decided that, hey, the government needed to be more involved with healthcare, and of course, healthcare costs have now skyrocketed because of doing things that health insurance is not supposed to do. And the list goes on, right? Wherever government has gotten involved into the capitalistic process, things have gotten materially worse. But this is what people are lobbying for. This was the Twitter debate I got into over the weekend. Capitalism works if you allow it to work. In areas of the economy where we allow capitalism to work, people are getting better products at lower prices. We always use plastic surgery as a good kind of jump off point for this conversation. The reason is that plastic surgery is an elective operation in most cases. There are some events where insurance will cover plastic surgery, but in most cases, plastic surgery is an elective surgery and you basically pay for it out of pocket. Okay? No insurance is going to cover that. So what's happened over the years with plastic surgery versus other healthcare? Other healthcare has gone, costs have gone up, quality has gotten worse. What's happened with plastic surgery? Costs have come down because of competition, but the quality of the service has gone up because of the competition between surgeons to get clients. I've got to provide a good quality plastic surgery or people aren't going to come to me. If I botch your surgery and you wind up on botched on cable, people aren't going to come to me for plastic surgery. But I provide a good quality service, and because I have to compete, prices are coming down. This is just an example, but there's many areas of the economy where capitalism is alive and well and works, and we leave it alone. And people are getting better quality service at better prices. The areas that everybody complains about are the big ticket items that we have allowed government to intervene in. So, we want these better things, but you can't have these better outcomes when you involve another party. When you talk about healthcare or labor unions or any of these other situations where you inject a third party into the middle of a transaction, everybody's got to get paid. If you want cheap healthcare, we've talked about this before. The relationship should be between you and your doctor. You pay the doctor for your healthcare, i.e. the plastic surgery model. You want an insurance company to come in the middle and soak up a portion of those costs so you don't have to come out of the entire cost of the operation. Two things are going to happen. The doctor is going to raise his cost because the insurance company is taking a cut of his profits, and you're paying a premium to the insurance company. So the insurance company's got to make their money. So the costs have to come up in order to pay this third party we've now injected into the middle of the transaction. Now, you've got the insurance company, they've got to get paid, and you've got the doctor, he wants to get paid. Now you want to stick the government into the middle of the equation. So now it's you, the insurance company's got to get paid, the government's got to get paid, and the doctor still wants to get paid. So what happens to cost? They go up. And this is in every situation that you talk about. So I get the idea that we like the idea that government is going to give us more. The government is going to pay for all these things. But remember that the government doesn't make money. They take money from you. The revenue of government comes from taxation. So the more that you want government to pay for you, the more you're going to have to pay to the government. Quality will deteriorate. Cost will increase because you're putting another party in the middle of every transaction, and the cost will rise. So if you want better and you want cheaper, the best thing to do is get government out of the middle of your transactions. Be right back from the break. Go now. Should I stay or should I go now? If I go, there will be trouble.
Got questions for Lance later? Ask now at realinvestmentadvice.com.